Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFP podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin, and we are live on YouTube, Familia. Please, por favor, for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for whatever holiday you're celebrating, or if you just having a cold drink or eating some tacos, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube, por favor. Give us a like and subscribe, por favor. Saying quick hello to our amigo of the show, Craig Reith. Mi amigo. Salud, 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 salud. So everybody, also want to make sure that when you're going to fantasypoints.com, make sure you go to use that promo code 22familia10. You get the best of the best. You get such great fantasy football content. It's the nitty gritty time. You can also start. I think there's also a promo code where you can actually subscribe and renew your subscription for next year. So use 22 Familia 10 if you want to do it in Spanish. 22 Familia 10. You get the best of the best, Familia. And speaking of the best, ay Dios mío. We're going to have some fun tonight. We are going to have some fun tonight. I am so excited about our special invitada for the show. If I could find artwork of a surfboard in the shape of a cactus plant, it would only start to describe this woman. Let's start with her being the co-host of the Women in Fantasy Football. I mean, she's that was one of the best panels, and for my money, too short at the Fantasy Football Expo. She's also the host of the Sick Podcast, which is all things Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh, which is all things Arizona Cardinals. She gives DFS advice for golf and football for Team Rise or Fall, and she's the VP of Marketing for Trophy Smack. I don't know when she sleeps. Do not know when she sleeps. And I don't know how she keeps a smile on her face. But hey, you know what? She'll smack a golf ball like Michelle Wee. She will take down a DraftKings tournament with the best of them. I got to meet her for the first time at the Scott Fishbowl LA live draft. And I consider her a good luck charm because this is why I'm still alive. And so is she in the playoffs. She's a little Arizona desert heat, little SoCal cool. You're about to get smarter in this episode, familia. Bienvenido to our buena amiga, Kelly Singh. Kelly, ¿cómo estás?
Hello. ¿Cómo estás? Let me see. How I'm going to say I am muy bien. Got to dust off that Spanish a little bit from high school.
That freshman year Spanish. You know what? I try not to go beyond that.
Buenas noches. That works, right?
Muy buenas noches. Muy buenas noches. I'm still getting used to, it getting dark after 5:00. I mean, throughout the summer and everything, even from spring throughout the summer, I was always used to doing these Wednesday evening podcasts, like 5, 6, even 7:00, like we are now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it'd still be a little bit of light, but no. It's all evening. It's our tribute to Rum Boys After Dark. So our amigo Robbie Johnson over there.
Man, that was quite an intro. I mean, that was a mouthful for sure.
Well, you wear a lot of hats. And I don't know how do you balance everything, especially kind of like you're living this double life, a little time in California, a little time in Arizona?
Yeah. It's an adventure. I mean, this is a period of my life where I have my oldest is in college and my youngest will be 17 in December, and she's got her GED and wants to work. So she's off working while my other one's in college. And I've just decided this is a great time to do stuff for me. So I was offered this amazing opportunity. Marketing's been my career my entire life. So I took the position at VP of Marketing at Trophy Smack, and yeah, it's crazy. I fly every 2 weeks. I have a little apartment. I am podcasting from bed. So you ask when I sleep. I guess after this, I will try.
Well, we'll try not to get you too keyed up a little bit, but there are some DFS lineups that we'll be talking about, some players that we'll be talking about that are a little interesante. So you might need a glass of wine to kind of wind down afterward. But you know what, you mentioned Trophy Smack a little bit, and it's such a wonderful opportunity. I mean, I I thought it was such a wonderful opportunity to take part in the Scott Fishbowl 12 draft in July at Trophy Smack, the LA Live draft, which is still one of my favorite days of the year. And I really hope that your back didn't hurt for too long after everybody slapping it and telling you what a great job and what a great day it was. But
Thank you. Wow. I mean, it was a huge undertaking for sure.
well, you made it very seamless. Made it very seamless.
I appreciate that. I have a great team. It took a lot of work, a lot of planning, but we managed to pull it off and had a great live event at our Trophy Smack headquarters. And we had only been in that building about 3 months maybe when we had that event. So you can imagine there was a lot of hurry up and make things happen. So yeah, it's a great place to work. It's a great company, and like I said, I have a great team. And I keep saying great. I couldn't be more grateful. Everything's great.
Oh, it's awesome. And you know what? It's such a great day. I mean, it was. I mean, getting Scott to actually, being greeted by Scott and just being like we're old friends is just fantastic. But there was a tweet. There was a tweet that came out today from Trophy Smack that I had to ask you. Was asking whether bodybuilding or fishing were a sport. I don't know if you saw that one or if you wrote that one from the
I
Trophy
did
Smack
not
account.
write it. No, I did not write that one. We have a
Where do you
great.
stand?
I would say they are sports. Both are sports. I'm very respectful of other people's sports. A lot of people don't think golf is a sport, which I think is weird.
You know what? I tweeted that. I responded to the tweet where I said, you have to break a sweat to be a bodybuilder. I don't know how much you're sweating being a fisherman. So they asked me if I ever pulled in. Somebody asked me, whoever was asked me if I ever pulled in a really really big one. I said no. The only time I ever went fishing, I actually fed the fish. So we'll leave it at that. We
You
will
know
leave
what?
it at that.
Fishing has strategy, it has equipment, it has a goal in mind. I think it is definitely a sport. I'm on board with fishing being a sport.
Well, Deion Sanders is an avid fisherman, and he considers it a sport. So I'll give it up to Deion, Coach Prime over at now Colorado. So I want to ask you, people are coming up on the fantasy playoffs right now. They're probably thinking about rewards for their champions. To commemorate that, I'm going to ask you, where do you lean, trophy or championship belt?
Oh man, I love the championship belt. It is such a cool thing. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a championship belt? And one of the things I'm really working on now is we have a mini belt, and there are so many different things that you can do with a mini belt. It could sit on your desk. It could sit on a shelf. You could put it on the dash of your car. You could have your pet wear it. So I have a whole big marketing campaign coming out around the Ultimate Championship belt, which is like a wrestling belt, and the mini belt, which you could do a replica if you wanted to. But there's also a loser campaign coming up around mini belts. So I don't want to spoil all the fun, but championship belts are where it's at.
You know who also is? I don't know if you listen to NPR. A Martinez is one of the reporters for NPR. He's a friend of mine, and I had him on the show a couple years ago, and he sent me a picture of him with his championship belt from a fantasy baseball league. So avid fantasy fan. So love it, love it, love it, love it. So yeah, that's great. So speaking of Scott Fishbowl 12, we're both still alive. So who's carried you so far?
Oh my gosh. So completely difficult spot to be in. I ended up being in the one spot. And if anybody out there is not familiar with how the draft happens at Scott Fishbowl, there's a round 3 reversal. so you don't get that snake-like pattern in the third round when you're in the first spot. So I had to think strategically, and I ended up going, my 1 and 2 picks were Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, because I thought I need to get the most potent stack possible. And that might be it for me. But I would be remiss if I didn't give some love and a shout out to Jamal Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, both on the Lions, obviously, for rounding out my running back and wide receiver categories, because they've both been just killing it this season, even despite injuries. So really good team, solid team. I actually haven't been able to do much shifting around because my bench is quite injured and sad. So just drafting by the grace of God, I guess, that a good solid team.
Oh, well, I got you know what? I'm with you. I ended up with the 101 as well. So I went Allen. So he definitely was fantastic the first 5-6 games. I think he raised the bar so much at that point that we were it almost too much. But no, I went Austin Eckler with my second pick.
I love
Was
that pick.
You know what inspired me? The video. And
Wow.
I was hoping, how they had the who picked Austin earliest, the
Wait,
little
that was
competition,
supposed,
and
why wouldn't that have been you?
somebody else had picked them earlier in the second round.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
the
So I didn't.
2-9.
Yeah, I think it was 2-9, and I was 2-12.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
okay. It's okay. Believe me, I'm not worried. I enjoyed Austin. I'm enjoying Austin very much. So
Yes.
I would very much enjoy Stephon Diggs too. But no, Amon-Ra St. Brown, another one. Just and the one that hadn't been that great lately, but Dameon Pierce was
Mhm.
just looked like a godsend. I got him in like the 10th round or something like that. It
Yeah.
was
Some
incredible.
really great late round picks this season. And that's just because it's been a wild season. It's been so weird.
Yeah, so it's been fun. It's been fun. My division still has 4 teams alive, so we'll see. We'll see. We a little more competition for waivers. Luckily, I have knock on wood. I haven't had too many season-ending injuries. Just the little things here and there, but no, I'm very very happy. Very happy. I think yeah, just still
Good.
being alive. It's great. So the Sick podcast with Kelly Singh. It's
Hmm.
a great look at the Arizona Cardinals. It's been kind of a rough year, as you mentioned. I was listening to the latest episode, and as I can attest, because I've kind of followed along with you, because I've had Kyler Murray is the quarterback I've had on most of my teams. I
Hmm.
have him on as many teams as I have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts combined. So,
Hmm.
um, you know, there are a couple of those teams that are still alive. Is there hope for me, and my Kyler teams that are making the playoffs?
I think so, yes. For Kyler Murray, I think it has been a season of growing pains for him. He needs to mature. If anybody listens to my podcast, this is something I talk about. He's a great quarterback, but he has a lot of maturing to do as a human being, as a leader, as a man, as a person. Um, he throws these little tantrums. He gets in his head. That doesn't work well with the team. That destroys team morale, which can, hurt the play of the whole team. That being said, Cliff Kingsbury is also not a very good coach. So that's
Okay,
a nice way of putting it.
unvarnished.
He is not instilling the responsibility or even teaching Kyler or these other young players how to be leaders, because he himself is not a leader. In fact, I have a drinking game going with friends during Hard Knocks in season. Um, every time Cliff Kingsbury says go, then you have to take a drink, because that's basically his only directive ever. And maybe that's just on camera, but all we ever hear him say is, go, go, go. Go out there. Go do it. Go, go, go. And I'm like, okay. What else you got for me? So with that being said, Kyler Murray is a great quarterback. He had a great week last week. Last week, he threw 2 touchdowns and an interception. We can gloss over that, but 2 touchdowns, ran in his own touchdown, which is great news, because that appears that hamstring injury is not going to hold him back at all. So I would not fear playing Kyler Murray next week against the Patriots at all. I think he's poised for another good week and will play out the rest of what's left for the Cardinals the best that he can, I believe.
So one of the things that I loved, and I kept talking about this preseason, was because I don't think people in July and August think about November, December weather that's out there. And I kept pointing out that Kyler Murray, I think it was after week 6 when they went to Seattle. After week 6, he either played in California or a dome every game except for the week 15 in Denver. And so I just thought, wow, I that's something that to me, to have this guy who's so supercharged when he's on. I love the first 7. I loved what I saw in the 7 games, but yeah, just some regression. I'm hopeful. I'd love to see him keep running a little bit more. Hopefully they looked at some of the things that the Eagles are doing. I'm intrigued because in the last game, was probably his best game of the season. It was the first game that he had Marquise Brown and D Hop on the roster, on the field at the same time. So that's got me hopeful. So, because I'll be going up against on those teams. I'm going up against the Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes teams in the playoffs, and and Jalen Hurts teams. So I need him to ball out. So we'll see on that one. So, okay. So on Cardinals, quick Cardinals history. If I take out Larry Fitzgerald, who's the greatest Cardinal, not counting St. Louis?
I'm going to backpedal just a tiny bit because I was distracted by a train. I live right near the train station. I want to tell you, as other players, Marquise Brown is not a favorite of mine. So, I could do with or without him. The Ravens is actually my other favorite team. You're allowed to have more than one favorite team, by the way. So Marquise Brown was not a favorite of mine on the Ravens, and I was not thrilled when I heard he was coming to the Cardinals, because he's injury prone, number 1, and number 2, he doesn't have good hands. He's not a great ball catcher. And people want to argue that, but when he was on the Ravens, they had him catching soccer balls as a drill at one point because he had the yips. He brought that with him to the Cardinals, and what he is good for is keeping your fingers crossed for like a garbage time Hail Mary touchdown, or you just want to hope that he's going to catch the long ball. So I'm just backing up a little bit. If you happen to have Marquise Brown, I think it's only a shaky flex option. And I just wanted to say that. Now, we want to talk about who's the greatest Cardinal. I mean, there have been so many amazing Cardinals, both on and off the field. I mean, we could talk Pat Tillman for very different reasons. Yes. We could talk Zach Ertz for very different reasons, and he's only been here a couple of years. We could talk, quarterbacks throughout the years. But what I want to say is DeAndre Hopkins is going to go down, outside of Larry Fitzgerald, as one of the greatest Cardinals. The man is breaking records in season records, and he didn't even play the first 6 weeks. So that goes to show that DeAndre Hopkins, even though he's not necessarily a spring chicken anymore, I mean, he's coming over the hump there in football age years, but he's got plenty of play left, many years ahead of good football, and he's out there just killing it. So I would say DeAndre Hopkins is probably the greatest Cardinal.
And you know what? There was a reel of great catches that he made, kind of a mixture of Texans and Cardinals, and you just thought those hands are just phenomenal. I grabbed him on a bunch of teams, kind of grabbing him late, saying if I'm in the fight, I'm gonna love having him at that point. And he's been great. He has been great. About
Yeah.
10 targets a game. Just one of the best. I mean, one of the best sixth, seventh round picks that I go at. So you talked about women, co-host of Women in Fantasy. When we were at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio in August, you were being the MC for that panel, Women in Fantasy Football. I mean, I was just looking at those ladies. I mean, that really was just the tip of the iceberg, because there are others who weren't able to be there. But I mean, right. I love, as a girl dad, I love seeing that. I love seeing when women are just saying, you know what, I don't care that it's an all guys, that it's a boys club. I'm breaking through, and to see how many people were there, both male and female, to accept it. What was it like for you to see so many talented women together, and then just the support that you were getting from the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, Women of Fantasy Football is a movement. It is, there is an account you can follow on Twitter, but I always say it wrong, so I'll have to look it up and tell you later. But
I'm putting it in the show notes.
Oh, perfect. I know it has an underscore somewhere that I always mess up, but you can also follow hashtag WOFF, and that usually brings up everything that is going on with Women of Fantasy Football. So it's a movement, and it was formed by Joshua Hudson and Faith Enos, and they wanted to put something together through Club Fantasy to support women. And stepmom Lauren was the co-host last year, and this year she had so much going on that they asked me if I would step in as co-host. So in August, during the month of August, and sometimes bleeding over from the end of July or early September, we host a podcast every week and have a woman within sports media or within sports itself to come on and share their experience. And the majority of our audience happens to be men, and it's because they love sports and they're very supportive of us. So that's kind of the backstory of Women of Fantasy Football. Then the panel at the expo was kind of a spin-off of that, where a group of us, just those who are involved with Women of Fantasy Football or not, they just happen to be women of fantasy football in their own rights. Somewhere out there in the Twitterverse or podcasts or blogs or whatever, we all jumped in a chat with Bob Lung, who founded the expo, and we put together a panel. And so I did MC that panel, and it was such an honor. The room was small. We only had 30 minutes, and it was packed wall to wall, not a seat except in the very front, and nobody likes to sit in the front row. And pouring out into the hallway. And so next year, if you come to the Fantasy Football Expo, we are getting a main stage, and we'll have an hour along with a Q&A portion. And I plan to MC again next year, and we'll have some new faces on the panel. So yeah, being a woman in sports is not easy. But I will say that there is a lot of support out there, and it's becoming more apparent that it's not just a gimmick, that we legitimately enjoy football, that we legitimately have opinions and knowledge and talents that we can bring to the table. So it's a great time to be a woman in sports.
And I agree. And you know what? And this is and I'm to me the great thing is it's like if you know what you're talking about, I don't care if you're a woman, I don't care if you're an
Right.
alien. It's just like like I love talking to you. We're gonna talk about one of my favorite things in about 30 seconds. And but to me that is great, and that's something that I want to instill in my daughters. My oldest daughter wants to get into sports physical therapy, so and she knows it's a guy's field, but I've introduced her to women who have made it in that field,
Yeah.
and she's hopefully going to be mentored by them and already gotten advice from them. So I think it's I just say more power to you. I never say no to my daughters. Just say, look,
Yeah.
you can do it. You can do whatever you want.
And,
Do whatever
and
you want.
piggybacking on that, because I know we have stacks and things to talk about, but
Yeah.
uh, Women of Fantasy Football also drew some interest from community parents in the fantasy football community who wanted a place for their daughters to learn how to play fantasy football in a safe environment. So we started 2 leagues. Last season, I had a league with Fantasy Dave on Twitter. He has 2 young girls, and they were 6 years old. And I took them into my league and we let them play. This year, we started an exclusive league, 2 of them for ladies only and girls. I think we are from 7 years old up to 14, I think is our age
Awesome.
range. And so that's happening. And then Dave Fantasy's girls, Maisie and Rowan, we call them the sneaky girls. They are 7 and they're twins. They wanted to do a podcast because they watch me on podcasts. And so we do a podcast on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's called the Sneaky Flex. It's 15 minutes long because that's as long as they can sit, and they give their favorite flex picks. And it may be because some of the favorite answers are it's a good matchup and I like their name. That's another good reason. And their jersey is a good color. But I will tell you, they're about 85% good with their flex picks this season. So tune in to Club Fantasy YouTube to see the sneaky flex with 7-year-old Maisie and Rowan at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
That's outstanding. That is outstanding. A quick shout out to Davis Peng, friend of the show. We went amigo Davis. Always, thank you, Puppy, for joining us, man. It's good times. So you talked about yeah, that the other panel you were on was the DFS panel, which I love being on. Again, another one that was too short and in a very
Yes.
small room. And that one. So I want to get in. I want to get into DFS a little bit and kind of what draws you, what kind of drew you to DFS, and what kind of drives you to keep getting better and keep giving advice to people so that they can win big money.
Yeah, I would say I was drawn into DFS as just another avenue of sports betting. I love sports betting. It started for me with horse racing. My dad used to take me to the horse track all the time as a child, and as a teenager, I worked at the horse track. I worked with the horses, and I became really good at understanding the data behind what makes a good bet. And that information translates from sport to sport because if you can read the data and understand what the key points are in that sport, I mean, you're just going to be successful pretty much in every avenue. So from horse racing, I just moved into football props. Prop betting was very successful for me. And then from props, I've moved into DFS. Golf exclusively last season, and this season I've been, when I have time, I don't think I've written a DFS football article since like week 6 maybe, but I have been writing my golf articles. So yeah, it's just a transition, another avenue of sports betting, and I love it. I love it a lot.
Oh man. Hey, can we transition for about 30 seconds to
Of
dynasty
course.
question that we got in the chat, which is very interesting, and it talks about one of the Scott Fishbowl players that we both have. Okay, MJ23. I wonder who your favorite basketball player is. Got offered Patrick Mahomes and Garrett Wilson for Justin Fields, Monroe St. Brown, and a 23 first.
Nope, I would not take that. That's just me. Justin Fields is, especially in Dynasty. I mean, Mahomes is young as well. Fields is just beginning his career. He's on fire. Amon-Ra St. Brown just beginning his career. He is on fire. And a 23 first, come on, that's going to be a very valuable pick. And I would not make that trade.
Even with Mahomes, I mean, Mahomes is going to be good for a long time.
He is going to be good for a long time, but that's one guy for two guys who are just as spicy, and a 23 first. I would not, because especially Dynasty, I just wouldn't.
23 first is a lot. I did the league that we're in. Thank you, Josh Jacobs, by the way. I did trade my first and my second next year, but I ended up getting Terry McLaurin and Tyler Lockett. So I'm hoping I'm making a nice little finish. So, but yeah, those 23 firsts are, I mean, that could be Bijan Robinson. That could be any number of great wide receivers. Could be one of the quarterbacks if they click, even though the heat on them has kind of come down a little bit. But I know Mahomes and Wilson is tempting, but yeah, Fields could be a game changer next year.
Yeah.
If they really do the pass fit, do the passing game around him. And he said it's super flex. So I think
that's even more so to hang on to that 23 first.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, MJ23. I think look at those receivers. Chase, Devonta Smith, Christian Watson and Scary Terry. You're plenty good. Plenty good. All right, let's switch back to DFS. What kind of philosophies have you developed over time? Kind of anything that has really become ingrained, and anything that's kind of become more sharpened or different in 2022?
That's a good question. I was thinking about this as I was looking over the show notes too. I would say that I am just learning to trust myself more, because and I don't want to make this a gender thing, because this can be for anybody who just doesn't feel as experienced. But for me, the added pressure of being a woman, and constantly being told that you don't know this, you've never played this, blah blah blah, it creates some doubt. So I think over the last 2 years, I've really been working on trusting myself, and knowing that I put the work in. So I'm putting in the work just as hard as anybody else, and just trust myself. So that's pretty much it. There isn't anything profound, I guess. I don't have any hard skill that I've learned in the last year or so, but just putting trust in myself has helped a lot in my play. I did not make the Scott Fishbowl playoffs last season. And here I am in the playoffs this season. And I think that's part of it. Yeah. Just trusting yourself.
I think you're right. I think that's very valuable, very important. Because I mean, we all have those stories of how we tinker with a lineup at the last minute, and then and then all of a sudden it's like your initial instinct was the
Mm-hmm.
right one. I did that
Yeah.
with I did that last week. You know, I looked at the rain in Cleveland. I said, oh, you know, I had Tom Brady and Matt Ryan. I said, okay, Tom Brady is playing in Cleveland. It's gonna rain. And I'm gonna go away from him, and I'm gonna go to Ryan, you know, playing at home. And
Mm-hmm.
if I switch them around, I'm right now in the playoffs in my family league, and now it looks like I'm going to be outside looking in because of that and plus one other move. I did that twice where I did the wrong. Two players is the difference between me being tied for first place and being out of the playoffs. That's how close the race is in that league. So, yeah,
Yeah.
first instincts.
You're
So
right. First instincts matter and trusting yourself matters. And I think just this is silly, but just rewinding back to when you put up that question and I just blurted out what was my first instinct. And I think it's okay, definitely okay to disagree. Everybody's gonna have favorites. But if you would have asked me a couple years ago, even with Mahomes, then I may have been like, you know what? Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. And I would have not been as strong on it. Thank you so much, MJ23. I did read all your notes there in the chat, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, MJ23. Even though I always say Magic Johnson was the greatest basketball player I ever saw, so MJ's number two. So we could have a discussion of that over a beer another time. But quick hello to a couple other people who were at the LA Live draft. Mr. Scampers, Dame Overboard. Oh, thank you for joining us. Always all love. Oh, thank you so much. So you know, when you're starting a build, I like to start I like to start with a stack, with quarterback, receiver stack, maybe quarterback, tight end. When you start building your lineups, where do you like to start?
Um, I would say the same. I like to build a stack as well. It depends on what format I'm playing, and it also depends on what sport I'm playing. But we're talking about football today.
Yeah.
So I would say a stack is important. Lately, if I'm sure everybody who's playing DFS has noticed the trend of kicker or defense in the captain spot. So I think if I've shifted any thought process at all, it might be to stop and look at that first. If I'm playing a format that allows that captain spot to have 1.5 times the points, and then work from there. But yeah, a stack is a great place to start. But before I even do that, I want to look at the roster ship. That is something when you talk about is if there's anything I have honed in DFS specifically, it's trying to do a zig when everybody else zags, but not anything crazy because that's when you get into trouble, I think. Trying to get too obscure with your lineup. But when you're doing a stack, maybe you're not taking Allen and Diggs because everybody will, but you might take, Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown or something like that. Something like a step down, but not too much of a step down. Does that make sense?
No, I hear you. Okay, you know what? Do you want to take a look at the Sunday lineup? I mean, I'm sorry, tomorrow night,
Yeah.
Rams. I'm going to share my screen right now,
I
and
can even open up and give a little secret insider info from the VIP section of Team Riser Fall Study Hub.
oh yes, that let's see, uh, which one am I?
Yeah,
Let's see, I've got.
I do pay attention a lot to a roster ship. And if you don't have access to a tool or know where to look, you're not looking at that data. And it's important because what that means, if you're new to DFS, I'm just going to throw this out there to anybody who's listening. If you are choosing who everybody else is choosing, then you are going to either lose or you're going to win, but you're going to win very little because you're going to split it with a very large group of people. And so finding players to build your roster that haven't been picked up is a really important part of DFS.
And I keep grabbing the wrong screen, so bear with me real quick.
Thursday.
Let's see, because I got both. Oh goodness gracious! Let's.
Ooh. This is looking good for a Devontae Adams, Derek Carr stack.
I was just gonna ask that one.
Yeah.
So we got.
Or,
Because I mean, Devontae has been so fantastic, and I know he's got. I know he's gonna have Jalen Ramsey, but it's like Devontae Adams to me is like. Yeah, he's like a great baseball hitter who still hits the great pitchers. So I've seen him just dust Darius Slay. I've seen him take down Jalen Ramsey and just everybody. It doesn't matter who, like best of the best DBs, and he takes them down. And I mean I know he's 19-20 on DraftKings, but yeah, could you justify him in the captain spot? Or do you want to go down, pay down, and grab something cheaper?
I'm just looking a little bit at some of these projections here, and no, I think that that's the right thing for the captain spot in this situation. You're going to have to get creative in other areas, but as I'm looking at salaries, let me just throw out there too, if you are doing a Derek Carr as your quarterback stack with Devontae Williams or Josh Jacobs, I would only do that on DraftKings. He's a little too spicy for me on FanDuel salary wise. So I like to look at that too, which is why it's helpful to have a tool that helps you to compare all of that. But yeah, I think that's the right scenario for the captain spot. Although the Raiders defense is actually looking really good as well in this specific scenario. They are poised to score as many points as Tyler Higbee. And that's pretty
they're
good.
priced just below Kyron Williams. I love that too, because I mean we saw it on Sunday. They were in Justin Herbert's grill. It was Max Crosby and Chandler Jones were just in Justin Herbert's grill all game, and the Rams. What's been their big failing this year has been the offensive line. I think that's a great call, and it's going to be inexperienced quarterbacks. It's not going to be Baker Mayfield, everybody. So don't worry about that one. So we got three. So we still got 1,540 to spend, 15,400 to spend. I'm intrigued. Yeah, so we got Adams in the captain spot, Derek Carr, Raiders defense.
Because I'm almost wondering if we run into a pricing issue, it might be an opportunity to throw the Raiders into the captain spot. Ooh. But let's see where we shake out first.
Yeah, let's see what we shake out, because I'm intrigued. When you mentioned that, I immediately thought of the Raiders in the captain spot for this one because of the fact that it's I think it's going to be piling up sacks tomorrow.
Yep, it is.
Let's see. All right, we're trying to go a little cheaper now. Do we want to look at the kicker? Just like an onslaught of Raiders, or do we want to keep going a little cheaper than that? And Carlson is a great kicker.
Yeah, I think Foster Moreau. Well, I keep picking up more Raiders. Like, I think Foster Moreau's going to have a good game. And he's very inexpensive right now.
Where is he on here?
He is going to be at 3,500.
Let's see. Did I already put him in there? All right. I'm looking for him. 30.
Where is he at? Foster
So
Moreau, DK salary at 3,500 is what I'm showing, unless it's changed.
did they raise it?
Tight end. Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's 6,600.
Ooh, boy.
That's pricey.
That is crazy. This was updated at 4 p.m. Eastern on my end. That is wild.
Wow.
Well, if you did not get in on Foster Moreau earlier,
yeah,
it's very pricey right now. What about good old Van Jefferson?
someone's got to catch passes there. I like that. I like that idea.
He's showing, what do you got him at?
6,400.
6,400. Not terrible. But do you think we could get away with Ben Skronek? I can't even say his name. Skoronek.
Skoronek.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Skoronek.
I've actually had him in a flex spot for like 3 weeks. So.
Ooh. So Skoronek. Well, they're gonna have to throw the ball because I think Adams and Derek Carr.
I think Skoronek
it's hard to leave. It's hard to leave Josh Jacobs off of this. I will say it's very hard, but I don't know if we could. Oh well, you know what? How about if we put the Raider defense? Do you think we could fit Josh Jacobs and Raider defense in the captain spot and Adams?
I think you could squeeze that in. Yeah.
Let's try that one. I like that. I like the idea that you mentioned that one of my primos who helped me start Familia FFB. He loved to do that. Okay, yeah. So we.
I mean, it's really only become a super trend that I've noticed, at least this season, where people have been doing that. But maybe I've overlooked it. But I'm like, wow. Sometimes your defense, especially in a matchup like this, could end up hitting big.
I want to do $200 on Cooper Kupp just for grins, but I don't know who will actually play there.
So we need a flex, and we've got what left?
We got $400 left.
$400? Shoot, there's no fee.
Unless we want to save some money off of Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I think we might need to do that. Let's get rid of him and put in good old Ben.
Not so big Ben. Let's see. And 2,000. I think that points us to Zamir White.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually is. I don't hate that either because I know we're expecting big things of Josh Jacobs, but Zamir White being being like almost his handcuff. I'm gonna save that one. I'm gonna throw some money on that one, and when we take down, we'll take our families on vacation.
Heck yeah.
we'll do a family trips to Cabo.
That sounds amazing.
All right, so I want to jump into the Sunday on the Sunday slate. So when you go into the Sunday slate, I want to get your idea on some of the stacks that I've got. Oh, Dame Overboard wanted to go Powell. No, I would say Tutu Atwell just because I love the chance of taking the deep shot there. So on my notes, I put together a little bit of something that was fun, by the way. That was fun. I'm gonna put the lineup together.
let's let her know Brandon Powell is not a very good value this week for what we're looking to get. And he's very highly, it looks like he's starting to be highly rostered, which is kind of weird too. So I would probably stay away from that one, unfortunately.
Oh man. Oh, by the way, MJ reminded me Kareem over Magic. So we'll see. Oh man. But yeah. So for Sunday, so we got 6 teams on by: Green Bay, Washington, Bears, Atlanta, Colts, and Saints. So it makes things, and we've got some primetime players that are going to be in the primetime games. We're losing out, as we just talked about, Adams and Jacobs. We're losing them from Sunday. We got the Miami offense, the Charger offense. They're going to be great. The Cardinals are on Monday Night Football, so there's no Tyreek. I mean, there's no Kyler. There's no DeAndre Hopkins. So I think we got to get a little creative on our stacks a little bit here. I don't know if I want to. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want to spend up on Josh Allen on this one, going up against the Jets. Jalen Hurts is in an interdivision team, and that was their one loss was against the Washington Commanders. I'm still getting used to saying that. Mahomes at Denver, things happen weird at Mile High, so I want to start looking down a little. I mean, what are some of your thoughts on what I just said? I'd love to get your thoughts on that one.
No, I think everything you said is fantastic. It's there's a lot going on. You do need to get creative. I don't like the idea, like you mentioned, of paying up for Josh Allen this week. I am always, always, always a huge, this season at least, Jared Goff plus anyone has been such a win for me almost every week. I would say every week, but like 2 maybe has he not really performed. And that doesn't mean winning. That doesn't mean that the Lions win. It means that Jared Goff did what he was supposed to do, and the receiver or the running back that you married him up with, did what they were supposed to do. So that's always a favorite of mine. And I do love your Tyler Huntley, Mark Andrews stack. Tyler Huntley, he's gonna end up, at least for right now, he's the Ravens guy, and he's not a terrible quarterback. So I think that's excellent. And then you have Mark Andrews. He's so young, but still the veteran player of the Ravens offense there, and I think that's a great matchup.
And you know what? It was. I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this in when I do an article after this. Huntley really went after Mark Andrews last year, even more than Lamar Jackson did. So love that one.
It's reliable. It's easy. He'll catch anything. The man doesn't miss a ball. So I think that's key. And Huntley is cheaper on DraftKings. He's a little pricier than I would like to see him, but he's very low rostered, like not even 1% as of 4 p.m. Eastern, at least in ownership.
Oh, wow.
So rostership. So that'd be a great place to differentiate your lineup.
Yeah, 5,500. I mean, for them, between the two of them, it's 12,000. I had Goff at 5,600, which, I mean, you were singing his praises. That game has the biggest over under of the weekend, 53.5. And what does Goff do when he's at home? He throws touchdowns. I mean, he blew up last week. They're even favored. How are they favored over the 10-2?
Because they are like the best worst NFL team. They they have a fantastic offense. They just do. And when everything clicks, it clicks. So When it's more than just a stack, the Lions will win. But yeah, Jared Goff, that's another great pick. He is a slightly higher rostership. It's still showing for me at least at under 5%, which I look to that as kind of be my marker.
Right.
So I still think that's good. But like I said, Huntley, not even 1% rostership on DraftKings, at least as of late this afternoon. So
Stacking him with the Monroe St. Brown, or are you saving money and going to Chark?
Shark's been very reliable. I don't like that price though, even still 40. But I mean, if you have room in your salary cap, it's fine. But for the performance to the dollar, it's a little. But he's good. He's reliable. He's been performing. If
As
you
we
need to
know,
save money, then that's what you would do. Yeah.
as we know from Scott Fishbowl teams, our respective Scott Fishbowl teams, ARSB is godlike, is sun godlike.
He's a
You know,
sun
I had
god.
on the other side, Kirk Cousins. I had Kirk Cousins at 6,100, and which paying 6,100 feels like saving money. It almost makes it easy to think about Justin Jefferson at 9,000 in a high game. You know, I think there's a lineup to be built around them. Just I don't know if I want to. Adam Thielen is kind of cheap on this one, but gosh, it's so hard to pass up on Justin Jefferson in perfect conditions.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I just want to back up 1 second because something else caught my eye. I think I
Sure.
would rather, if I'm doing a Jared Goff stack, I may go Jamal Williams and split the
Ooh.
difference between Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and DJ Chark, because the projection, we're looking at 11, 12 points, which is great. I think anything in double digits is going to be good for us. And we're looking at a rostership of around 3% as of this afternoon and a salary of 5.9 thousand. So instead of wide receiver, maybe we go running back and
Ooh.
it just sometimes it pans out that way. I don't want to get stuck in a rut of a quarterback wide receiver, but you haven't done that. We've already talked about Huntley and Andrews, which tight end quarterback's always good too.
Oh yeah, I mean, gosh, if anybody who's ridden Mahomes and Kelsey, which I do have on one of my teams, and it's just like I have my running backs were killed by injuries, but I'm up there because I have essentially Mahomes, Kelsey, and Stephon Diggs. But
Yeah,
one question, you mentioned Jamal Williams.
yeah.
What about saving $100, DeAndre Swift, because he could catch some passes? That to me is another interesting one on that one. That this game is just this game is so caliente, so fire. This is sabor. Oh, love it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. If you want to go with Swift, I think he's always, again, a reliable pick. It's somebody Let me take a look at him. DeAndre Swift, 14 points. Yeah, I think that's a good deal too because he is a slightly better value. So when we talk about value, we're not discussing necessarily a dollar amount. It's a dollar amount to performance. That is the value. The dollar amount to performance to rostership. What am I going to get out of this guy? That is what the value is when people talk about value. A lot of people think it's a cheap player, but it's not. So DeAndre Swift, slightly less expensive than Jamal Williams by $100, and gives you maybe 4 or 5 more points potentially. And they have the same rostership right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And yes, Dame Overboard. Yes, we're all ARSB. We're all getting St. Brown jerseys after this season. So when we all finish top 30, when we all make it to the finals. Okay, so one a little more expensive stack is he's on such a heater as Joe Burrow at $7,000. I know it's paying up, but uh in Cleveland, that they've been hit and miss against the pass. They have had Cincinnati's number. Apparently, Joe Burrow has still not defeated Cleveland, but this is a home game. He's got Chase back. Chase is 7,900. T Higgins is 7,000. Is that how does that stack shape up for you?
It feels a little too predictable.
Yeah.
Like everyone and their mom who's deciding to play DFS this week is going to pick that. I mean however, the salaries don't necessarily show that. But let me look here. We've got Joe Burrow, what, 7K?
Yeah.
And he's good. He's always good for 20 at least. They've got him at almost 22 this week. And among QBs, though, if we're just looking at QBs, he's between 3 and 4% rostered. So yeah, that's too high for me.
Okay.
I will be out on that for QB because of that reason.
Yeah,
there are far better QB stacks that we could do.
Well, I think we talked about three that are already that I think we like better. On the running back side, again, the pricey ones, I don't love the matchups. Do not love the matchups this week. And it's, McCaffrey going up against Tampa. Tampa's been good against the run. Barkley going up against Philly. Philly has gotten better. They got Jordan Davis back. So, and Derrick Henry has, people have been really loading up against him. So, it makes me want to save some money. And actually, the one guy that really just locked me in was Tony Pollard. Going up against at 6,700, going up against Houston. Oh man, is it almost too easy that you just lock in on whoever's playing Houston, Cleveland, and the Chargers?
I mean, when if it's something that jumps out at you, then you should go for it. We talked about listening to your instinct. I think the only thing that gives me pause is, again, that rostership number is starting to climb with Pollard. Still in the safe zone as far as running backs go, but will probably be over 5%, which isn't a deal breaker by any means. It's still in the safe zone. I think you're good with a running back, maybe even up to like 8%. But that might be the only thing that gives me pause. 6,700 for 15 points. I could live with that. I think that's pretty good.
The other one, I mean, we talked about who's playing Cleveland, and it's the Bengals. So we're getting off of Joe Burrow, but is Joe Mixon also? Yeah, he cleared concussion protocol, so it looks like he's going to be full speed ahead. And it's not like he had a hamstring injury. So a lot of the medical experts have said, when skilled players come back from concussions, there's not usually any diminishing in skill set. 6,900. I even. What's his rostership look like?
It's going to be high. He's already just as of so what time was that here? 1 p.m. here, California time, 4 p.m. Eastern was already pushing 5%. So it's going to be high. And if you're trying to match that up, like we talked about with Joe Burrow, you're not going to differentiate yourself very much there. Right. You could spend that money elsewhere and probably get a little bit more bang for your buck. We talked about Pollard, that I think is a better option if you're looking at running backs.
Yeah, he's been catching more passes. He's catching
Yeah.
more passes than Mixon. Mixon only had that one game where, where he scored the 5 touchdowns and where he really caught passes. Samaje Perine, who's 6,300
Mhm.
this week, he's someone who caught more passes, more work in the passing game on the games that Mixon missed. We talked about DeAndre Swift, but a couple of the running backs that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Miles Sanders at 6,200 going up against the Giants, and Deonta Foreman 5,400 missed practice. So Familia, keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on practice reports with him before you put him into your DFS lineup. So at Seattle. So those are two guys that could be pretty popular this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Miles Sanders is a little pricey for what he gives us. I mean, it's not terrible, but if we're looking at just looking back, he's just kind of volatile, really. And that's something I don't like about him is you're going to get a really great game or a really terrible game. And I don't think I want to spend in the 6,000s on somebody I'm not super sure about.
You know what? You're so right, because there have been a couple of times where I thought, wow, he's in a smash spot, and they gave him the ball 8 times, and there was, and they still won easily. So I don't
Yeah.
that one I don't get.
You mentioned Perine. I would prefer that over Miles Sanders at 6,300. Less volatility, but there's also that's starting to creep up. A lot of people are getting on that train right now. So not a whole lot of variety there. Devontae Foreman, Donta Devon. I can't say all those D names. We'll just go with Foreman. 5,400, good for about 13 points. Everybody's on that train. So, if unless you're like married to it or have some super secret stack you don't want to share, I'm out on Foreman this week for sure.
Yeah, that's well. I'm a little worried about that injury, so I'd want to keep an eye. The Seattle run defense has been getting beat up a lot this year, so that to me is
interesting. Ramondre Stevenson has always been something to look at this season, especially, and consistent, very consistent. He's looking back on the last 4 weeks, we've got 10 points. Where am I at? 10 points, 10.8. So 11, 15, 11. Then we have some out and out there, it looks like. So averaging 12.6. I would call that super consistent. Anything within, I like to look 3 to 5 points week to week. And you're like, wow, that person's really consistent. I can count on them to at least break double digits. And I like to see that. So Ramondre Stevenson, and it's not terribly pricey at 6.6. And I, for some reason, don't have a rostership number there, but I would venture to say it will be somewhere on the higher side, but nothing like Derrick Henry, which is like 9% now, or a Saquon Barkley. I think you're going to be in the 5 to 6% range on Ramondre Stevenson. I just can't see that number right now for some reason.
Is it probably because he's on Monday night?
Oh, I might be filtered incorrectly. That could be why. Yeah. That's probably why.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I had a list of cheap receivers on there instead of running through any. Zay Jones is the one that really sticks out at me at 4,700 against that Tennessee defense.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's definitely going to be one when we talk about differentiating. I think that's a great play.
And how about and this week you got Travis Kelce at 7,600, and we already talked about Mark Andrews. I want to that seems high, and I worry Denver's defense, where they are good, is on the back end, is defending the pass. I want to the one. I keep going back to that Detroit game. T.J. Hawkinson at 5,100. Or is there a tight end play that you're loving this week?
Tight end tight ends are my favorite position. First of all, if you follow me on Twitter, I do talk about tight ends a lot. One of the subjects in my DFS articles is who doesn't love a tight end, kind of a play on words. So I have a soft spot for the tight end position. I like the TJ Hawkinson play. I think it'll be interesting, being that it's versus Detroit, but it's priced well. It's starting to creep up there in the danger zone of popularity. Tight end is like quarterback is another small field of players. So once you get over 5%, or even sometimes 4% when we talk about tight ends, because it's such a small field. There's a lot of people on Hawkinson this week, but he's got a good point. He's got a good price point, and he'll deliver 12 or 13 points for us this week. So that's a great value. Just make sure, if you are playing Hawkinson, that you find another way to shake up your lineup, because you're not going to shake it up there. But he's a good pick.
Yeah, shake it up or shake it off. Yeah, I can't get rid of Taylor Swift references because I'm a girl dad. So, defense. My philosophy on defense is just I almost always punt the defense and try and go for the cheapest defense at home.
Yeah.
Which this week is Denver at 2,300. I'm hoping that Mile High. Things kind of throw. I mean, there's always. I think the number one defense in DraftKings the last 3 weeks has been the defense that's gone against Houston, and that's Dallas at 3,800. I heard that stat earlier today, which just totally floored me. Yeah, totally floored me.
Yeah. The only time I don't mail in my defense pick is like what we discussed at the start of this, when you have a great matchup, when your defense is poised to score as many points as your flex position, then those are the opportunities to really think on where you want to place them, and do you want to spend a little more. So today we talked about doing the Raiders defense and our captain spot. So I would stick with that. But if you're not a fan of playing your defense in a more strategic way, you really can't miss, like you said, with a home team. And usually defense is only, a couple $1,000.
Right.
So you're good. You're golden.
Love it. Well, I want to, speaking of golden, maybe yellow brick. I want to kind of jump to kind of our finale. And I saw on Twitter, saw one of your tweets that you get to see the Elton John show in Phoenix.
Yes.
And I saw him at Dodger Stadium on my birthday, November 17th. How was the show?
My birthday's November 3rd.
Hey, happy birthday. It's fellow Scorpio. Fellow Scorpio. This is why I knew you're yet another reason why I knew you were good people. So favorite moments from the show.
My goodness. There were so many. This is so silly, but I laughed, I cried some more. I sang at the top of my lungs. But I will say the most fun for me was Crocodile Rock. And it's because my dad used to sing that to me when I was little, and all I could hear was his voice doing the la 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 la. So I was like bawling my eyes out. My dad passed away in 2015. He was my best friend, and my biggest fan. So hearing that and being able to scream it at the top of my lungs and hear my dad, and yeah, that was probably my very favorite moment of the show.
That, you know what,
How about
that was,
yours?
you know what, you just described and it was one of my favorite moments was when he was doing the la 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 la. He
Yeah,
let he let the stadium take over.
sing it.
And
Yeah,
so I did a
ours too.
I did a panorama of the stands. I was on the field at Dodger Stadium, so I turned around and just did a whole panorama for about 30 seconds of Dodger Stadium singing la 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 la, and I was singing along with them. And it's my that and Leave On are my two favorite songs. And I think he played them fairly close to each other, and just phenomenal. It was probably about like the fourth or fifth time that I've seen him. Um, it's just magical, just magical to see him on that night and in that venue, Dodger Stadium, which was so special to him. He played a legendary concert there in 1975, and he ended up where he a lot of people. This was great. A lot of people bought on Etsy the base Dodger uniforms with Elton One on the back, and it was, of course, they were all sequin, and it was cold that night, and these things were basically like pajamas, like sequin pajamas. And I don't know how people stayed warm because it was cold. It was in the 40s that night, or
Oh my goodness.
low 50s. And but no, people were just rocking it. They had the goofy hats, they had crazy sunglasses. It was just it was just a great night.
It
Just
was. Oh my gosh.
yes.
I'm so glad we got to share that memory together. Yeah, it was one for the ages for sure.
Yeah, just one for the ages, and another one for the ages. I'm very curious on this one. I've spent a little time in Arizona, been to spring training several times, eaten a lot of, partaking a lot of food. I want your take, because this is Familia FFB, Fantasy Football con Sabor Latino. I always love to get food takes from people.
Mhm.
I've heard everybody telling me about their favorite Mexican food. But you can give me a unique perspective. Mexican food in Southern California and in Phoenix.
Yeah, I would say
Both high, both high
they are
marks.
both very delicious. I will say they're quite different in that there seems to be a lot more opportunity for fish tacos here in California. We do have them in Phoenix, but it's not like always on every menu. And I will say also, it seems like the street taco or the soft taco shell is far more popular here in California, where in Arizona, you see a lot of the deep fried, where it makes like closed up kind of at the
Yep.
top hard shell. That's actually my very favorite, but it's maybe because it's what I have most often. But somebody told me those aren't real tacos when they do it like that. But
No, they're lying. They're lying. Those are the ones my mom makes,
I
and
love that. And I think they
they're
get pinched like that because they're like holding it with like tongs and stuff too, probably if they don't
it's
have a
actually
basket.
a lot of times it's toothpicks. That
Okay.
my mom holds them together. She would almost like sewing, it's like sewing a needle into
Okay.
them, and just hold them in, and then before,
Yeah.
when she takes them out, and then fills them up. But no, it
Fills
just
them up with the cheese and the lettuce and the tomatoes and the onions. And yeah, I'm a big shredded beef, if not machaca fan. Um, so yeah, I would say that's the difference. Is it feels like the California tacos, at least. It could also be that I'm in Old Town Orange the majority of my time, but it seems like there's a lot of soft tacos, street tacos.
yes.
which I also enjoy, but I don't see a lot of that when I'm in Phoenix.
No, I think I don't. Yeah, you know what? I remember. Yeah, the times I've been, not so much, but yeah, anybody who tells you the deep fried tacos, you send them my way, and I will set them straight because my family's from Jalisco, and that is one of the delicacies, and it's one of the favorite things, and actually, my it's one of the favorite. It's the favorite thing that my mom makes for my kids. So
Okay.
when yeah, so that um, I've made healthy variation where instead of deep frying them, I air fry them. So
Okay.
and it's
That
the
could
kids
work.
say it's good, it's close enough to what abuelita makes, but so they enjoy abuelitas too. So they enjoy abuelitas when it's more of a treat. So, but this gets them by until abuelita makes them again.
When you said Jalisco, now you make me want a beer because I have been on an Estrella Jalisco kick
One of my
as
favorites.
of late.
That is one of those ones on a hot day. Pacifico is my number one, but Estrella Jalisco and Modelo are like right
Yeah.
behind it on that beer you can
What
just sip
about
all day.
Victoria?
Which
So
one?
that Victoria, it's not around a lot. It's never on draft. It's usually only on bottle, um and I don't even know where it comes from, but it is a Mexican beer and it's called Victoria and I love it. And it's very hard to find. So if you get an opportunity, people try a Victoria.
Una Victoria. And you know what? And you know what Victoria is? It's a name, but it's also Una Victoria is a victory. So
Okay. Well,
this
there
was a
you go.
the
This
getting you
was
on was a
fun.
victory. It was a big victory, big win for me. I know we went over time, but you know what? This was awesome.
It was
As
so much
as
fun.
as I love to say, long overdue. And like I said, just getting to hang out with you. I met so many great people at the Scott Fishbowl draft, and then getting to hang out again at the Fantasy Football Expo. But you know what? It was just a highlight to meet you again and in
Thank
person.
you.
It was
I
just
feel the
so.
same.
Oh man, you are familia. You are familia. You are always welcome on here. You ever and you know what on the on you ever need a guest to jump on with you on any of your pods? I'd be happy to return the favor anytime.
I
Anytime.
would love that.
I jump on with you on talk about Cardinals and whoever they played or whatever. You tell me. You name the time. We'll
I
be there.
will. I'm going to take you up on that.
No problem. No problem. Happy to do it. Mi amiga, please, again, your million hats, but pump anything you want. Feel free.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of fun little things that you can check in. I don't want to plug a direct competition to what you have going. So, everybody, make sure you check out Fantasy Points because I know that they are a friend of the show, which you're going to hear more about a little bit. But I do have some DFS stuff going. You can find it very easily. We have what I'd really like you to do is check out the Sick Pod with Kelly Singh. It usually airs twice a week. I am recording again tomorrow, so there will be a Thursday episode. And also tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern Time, tune in to Club Fantasy on YouTube. Take 15 minutes out of your day to hear the sneaky flex with 7-year-old twins, Maisie and Rowan, and I. It's a great time. It's a fun. If you've had a bad day, it's a good way to kind of let those things go and just smile and see football through the eyes of a little girl. It's really one of the best times, highlight of my week, to be honest. So that's the Sneaky Flex, 6:30 Eastern Time on the Club Fantasy YouTube channel.
And Dave is also a friend of the show. One of the first people I saw in person at the expo, and he told me that I'd just been on with Nate Paulvote, and I gave him my mom's carne asada recipe, and he made it live on a stream, and Dave took copious notes, and he said, "I've got." He said he had like 10 pounds in the freezer. He'd already made some. He's just so that my mom's carne asada has fueled those kids. So gotta love it. Gotta love it. Oh, mi amiga, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Esto fue un gran placer. Such a great time. I really appreciated it. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody in the chat. I know the magic Kareem, Michael Jordan. We got to put LeBron in there because he's going to be getting points, catching Kareem soon. But again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Again, make sure you're following Kelly at Kelly in Phoenix. So she's a great follow on Twitter, as I mentioned. You can find me at Jorge Martin 17. Also find us on YouTube, Familia FFB. We're easy to find on there. Please give us a like and subscribe again. Do it for us for Christmas. And again, fantasypoints.com. You use the promo code 22familia10. Get you 10% off your subscription. Otra vez, Familia. Thank you so much for joining us. This is great. Oh, again, familiaffb.com for original content. Everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy getting ready for the week. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.